We had a question about accuracy. So, James, let me see that one. This is a great question. So I do go back and look, and last year I did verify, thank goodness. But statistically, to put this in, I've done this 21 years now. I'll have to recalculate it. But last time I calculated, it was about 65%. That's not great, but I'm okay if I get above 60% on a seasonal forecast. I'm doing something better than a coin flip, so I'm pretty happy with that. It's not the Farmer's Almanac, apparently, which is 80%, which we can never prove.
Shots fired, Brad.
But I'm pretty diligent. I look at, is it above, below? And the last couple of years, I've done the bold forecast, putting a range just for Charlotte for fun. I'm not so keen on verifying that. I just want to know if it's above or below. And if I verify, I'm basically, over my 20 years, it's been about 65% of the time. I've had some big busts, but last year was actually a pretty good one for me. Considering we had 2 years with no snow, the fact that I forecasted snowfall was pretty amazing by itself, Tim.
Yeah, and we're in a different world now. We're maybe not, I guess we're always snow thirsty, right? But last year, boy, we were coming off that big, long stretch. For us up here, we were 1,000 days without snow, which is only the second time that ever had happened. So at least we got something last year.
Yep.
I do feel like the vibe and the overall impression, if you go man on the street, people still say we haven't gotten a good snow in quite a long time. And that's the perception, whether it's reality or not. The last big one, at least, around here, and maybe you remember as well, was for us the 2018 snow, which at this point is like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
But December of 2018, and this is a winter, just like Brad was saying, it wasn't all that cold of a winter.
Nope.
We had very few events. In fact, for us, this was the only
That was the only event for us that year, too.
And it was just a whopper. I mean, for Charlotte, not so much, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of a little bit low on the totals. But all you had to do was ride up into Burke County or something, or up by Hickory, over a foot. Greensboro, over a foot, one of our biggest daytime 24-hour snow totals.
Yeah.
Boone was over 18 inches. I mean, this was a total whopper. And it was all snow for most of those places in the foot zone. There wasn't a lot of sleet or mixing. So I think for most of us, if you're a snow hound, you're remembering, all right, that's the one I want again. That's like your Hallmark Channel storm before the holidays.
That one sticks in my mind because you're right. Charlotte didn't get a ton of snow. We had snow, but our northern counties, Interstate 40 corridor up towards you. I remember at the time telling people, this is a pretty big deal. We don't normally get snow like this early in December. And that was an all-timer. That really was. And it was funny, Tim, because I remember that year, I think my forecast was for slightly below or maybe near average. And that storm happened. Everyone goes, oh, you're going to bust your forecast. But as you just talked about, and we joked, that was the only storm of the entire year. So I ended up verifying, and it all came from one single storm. So that was a weird year. That was, I mean, people were convinced, Tim, that because it snowed on the 8th and 9th in December, that we were going to have this hellacious winter. And it actually just got warmer and warmer, I felt like, as the winter went on. And people were like, yeah, remember that snow back in December? And we kind of all forgot about it. So, it's kind of interesting. The other winter that sticks with me, and I talked about it in my forecast, Tim, was 2010-11. I'm not sure, I didn't look closely at your graphic, but what did you guys have in 2010-11? Because that was a really peculiar year where it was a La Nina. And we had the snow here was 6.1, which is above average. But I remember more the cold. I think those 3 months, December, January, February, for Charlotte, the average temperature, not the high or low, the average of both, was below 40 degrees for all 3 months. And we hadn't done that since like the 80s. It was in crazy cold winter.
That was a really cold winter. So kind of if you go back, and last winter, by the way, for us was our coldest one in quite a few years, just because it had been so warm for a while. But you're right. We haven't had a winter as cold as 2010 and 11. Since then, we were in the 30s for average temperature around here, 38 degrees. All the months were quite cold. It wasn't particularly snowy, in terms of, well, if you look back here, I'm seeing about 10 inches for us. So it was about on our average, just a little bit above. We've had some good ones after that since then, but the cold, I think, was the big story that year. And it goes to show you can get that in La Nina winters. You can get that. There are always exceptions to the rule. We look at these data for, El Nino or La Nina. It's not like, oh, that's the answer. this is the way it is. No,
Yeah.
there's always exceptions. And we haven't even talked about, the snowfall in Russia and Siberia, the QBO or any of these things, the eastern phase. These are not things that we've incorporated today, right now, but there are so many other things that we're looking at when we're putting these things together that kind of muddy the waters a little bit for winter.
Yeah, and those are always the wild cards, like, those short-term teleconnections that are 1 to 2 weeks out, that those can always throw you for a loop. Those are hard to predict months in advance. And I remember 2010, that's really what happened. That negative NAO and the blocking pattern just took over, and it got cold. I just remember those winters. We had 2 back-to-back pretty cold winters, and primarily because I had a water line freeze from my house to the meter. One of those horrible things, you see water coming out of your front yard, and you realize, I've got a broken pipe. So it was such a prolonged cold snap that caused those issues. So, James, what other good questions we got? I saw a good one about Christmas in La Nina.
Yeah, I decorated this graphic. What are the chances of having a white Christmas like the one in 2010, Brad?
Oh, that was Charlotte's White Christmas, and I think so many people remember that fondly. The other thing I remember about that, I think I went on a limb and forecast snow like 7 days out. And I not that I was forecasting them out, but I said, I think we could have snow on Christmas. And I was sweating that one because someone in our web department decided to put the headline, Brad guarantees snow for Christmas.
Or your money back.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's not what I said. And so I was sweating that one, and it was a weird day. It snowed from west to east. It took all day for the snow to get here. But that year, I think every spot in North Carolina had snow either on Christmas Day or the day after, which was something that is rarely seen. So I will tell you honestly, my opinion on Christmas Day snow, it's not something that happens here. It's only happened 4 total times in our recorded history. And the fact that we had one in 2010, Tim, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's like hitting, the pin head of a nail or something with a shot. It's just too hard. It's just one date on the map. And so I think people wish for that every year, but it's probably something you shouldn't really wish for.
It's so hard to do. And I remember that when I was in Wilmington, we got flurries at the beach. It was probably after midnight, I guess. It was really late. But it was a remarkable event and something that doesn't happen all that often. But sometimes you can catch lightning in a bottle. Speaking of Wilmington, their biggest all-time record-setting snow, 1989, Christmas. So it does happen sometimes. And you never forget it if it does. But there's a reason you never forget it, because it doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah.
I would say, based on the way things look, at least for my area when I was looking at some of these analog years, it tended to seem like a lot of the weak La Nina winters favored a cooler December and then kind of, stabilizing a little bit after that. So we'll see. Some of those next couple of weeks, the longer range models that we're looking at, they're kind of setting that up. So, once December turns, it does look like it'll start to feel like winter. Will we have those at-bats? Will we have those storm systems? That remains to be seen. But I think we'll have our chances, and that's about the best you can hope for.
Yeah, one of my favorite stats for Christmas around here is it's been 70 more times on Christmas Day than we've had snow on Christmas Day. So probably not something I would be wishing for on Christmas Day. Yeah, you mentioned late season. I want to bring up this one thing that I talked about online, and I'll be posting my forecast later tonight, is late season La Nina. I'm talking winter into spring. And Tim, this is something we've seen across the Mid-South and even into our area. La Nina winters tend to end with severe weather, and sometimes getting severe weather early in the spring. When I'm talking, it was like February, March time frame. So I think that's one thing to watch out. It's not really winter weather related, but La Nina winters tend to have severe weather towards the tail end in spring. We get an early start to the severe weather season. So that would be another trend I think we should watch out for, because we've seen some big tornado outbreaks in La Nina winters across the South. So I would be really interested to see if that happens this year.
Yeah, and that can be a big concern, of course, too, as we go into March. So something to keep an eye on as well. I see James pulled this up. These are my silly snow rules. Rule number 1 is just it's hard to snow in North Carolina. So consider your sources. Be careful on social media. There are a lot of places you can get your info. We would encourage you to find your friendly local meteorologist.
Yes. I'm sure we'll get tons more questions, but thank you guys for tuning in. WCNC Plus continues right after the break.